friends. They killed Charlie Kirk. They murdered him, America's brave son and her hero. So today, right now, we have to rip the mask off the left and face the ugly truth of what just happened. A little while ago, a bullet tore through the air at Utah Valley University, and it didn't just shatter a young life. It shattered the last illusion of our civilization. That wasn't a gunshot. That was a declaration. A war that's been raging in the shadows of our culture just went from cold to hot. And we will not do them the favor of calling this a shooting. We won't even call it a murder. We will call it by its real name. In the words of the governor of Utah, it was a political assassination. In the words of the President of the United States, it was a heinous assassination. Yeah, war is here. They didn't just kill Charlie. They chose to spill his blood on the altar of their ideology, right in front of the very kids he was trying to save. The videos are everywhere now. You've seen them. The blood pouring from his neck, staining the very ground he fought for. This wasn't some random act of violence. This was a public sacrifice, a ritual. They executed him in broad daylight to terrorize the rest of us, to shut us all out.
To understand why they had to do this, you have to understand who Charlie was, what he lived for. The talking heads on television, the blue check crybabies on social media, the politicians. They had a lot of names for him, didn't they? Divisive provocateur, homophobe, Islamophobe. They said he spread misinformation. They called him a bigot. Well, you're damn right he was. If believing there are only two genders is bigoted, then Charlie was a bigot. If believing that a country needs a border to be a country is bigoted, then Charlie was a bigot. If believing that the Green New Deal is a suicide pact for the American working man is bigoted, then Charlie was a bigot. If believing that this is a Christian nation and that Christ is king is bigoted, then Charlie Kirk was a proud, unapologetic American bigot. And so am I. He wasn't a politician. He was a warrior, a prophet. At just 18 years old, Charlie saw the rot eating away at the heart of our country and decided to do something about it. He founded Turning Point USA. And you know, fate had a funny way of showing him his path. When the corrupt, spineless establishment at West Point refused to give him a uniform, God gave him something better, a suit of spiritual armor. And he sent Charlie to a much more dangerous front line than any foreign battlefield, the American college campus. His mission, the mission of Turning Point, was simple: to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of freedom, free markets, and limited government. But it was never just some political club. It was a rescue mission. He charged unarmed into the heart of the plague, into those ivy-covered concentration camps that call themselves universities. And he tried to pull our kids back from the edge of the abyss. He was leading a revolution, not a revolution of complicated theories, but a revolution of common sense. He fought to take back the simple truth that the elites have tried to steal from us. And for speaking that common sense, he paid with his life. The altar on the quad. Think about where they chose to execute him. Not in some dark alley. They did it in broad daylight on a university campus, in the middle of what they claim is a temple of tolerance, dialogue, and learning. But they didn't defile that temple number, they just revealed what it truly is. It's been an intellectual slaughterhouse for decades. Now it's a literal one, too. Charlie was sitting there under a tent open to the whole world. And on that tent were 3 words: prove me wrong. It was a challenge, an invitation to debate, to use words. And how did they answer? With a bullet to the neck. Because they can't prove him wrong. They can't win with facts. They can't win with logic. Their only answer is violence. Their ideology is so weak, so fragile, that it cannot withstand a single question. So they have to command silence with a gun. With that one cowardly act, they proved that Charlie was right all along. Let's be very clear about what happened in those final moments. A questioner from the crowd, a soul steeped in the woke poison of the campus, asked him about mass shootings and trans people. It wasn't a real question, it was a loyalty test. A catechism for their new religion, the cult of victimhood. They wanted him to bend the knee, to recite their scripture. And Charlie's answer was his last act of rebellion. He just said, too many. He refused to play their game. He refused to bow to their idols. He just stated a simple, observable fact. And for that one sentence of blasphemy, the death sentence that was already signed was carried out on the spot. Charlie wasn't killed over a political disagreement. He was executed as a heretic. The bullet that killed him was loaded long before the killer pulled the trigger. It was loaded in the classrooms that teach our children that truth is a tool of oppression, that biology is bigotry, and that history is just hate. It was loaded by an ideology they call critical theory. But we know by its real name the cultural extreme left, an ideology that turns a career criminal like George Floyd into a hero, and a patriot like Charlie Kirk into a villain. When you teach an entire generation that language is violence, you can't act surprised when they finally decide that violence is just another form of dialogue. Charlie saw it coming. He called this a spiritual war against wokeness, the cultural extreme left and Islam, a war against ancient demons. And now, the demons have shown their face. And then, right on cue, the arsonists who burned down our civilization started shedding crocodile tears on the ashes. Gavin Newsom called the killer disgusting. Nancy Pelosi said political violence has no place in our country. They stand there in their ivory towers, spouting these feel-good platitudes, when for decades they have aimed the most vicious, hateful rhetoric at patriots like Charlie. But one of them let the mask slip in his rush to sound compassionate. The governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, just couldn't help himself while condemning the violence. He added that he thought the president's own words incited violence. Do you hear that? Do you feel the venom in those words? Our boy isn't even cold, and they're already blaming us. They're blaming the victim. They're gaslighting an entire nation in real time. What they're really saying is, it is a damn shame he got shot, but he had it coming. That is who they are. These politicians, the media, the universities, they are an unholy alliance, a united front that manufactures a climate of hatred day in and day out. They're the ones who label patriots bigots. They're the ones who call truth hate speech. They're the ones who teach our kids that our civilization is evil. They spend every single day loading the gun with lies. And then they have the nerve to act shocked when one of their crazed followers finally pulls the trigger. Let's be clear, they're not mourning the loss of a life. They're managing a PR crisis for their ideology.
So now, friends, the moment of choosing is upon us. The president called Charlie a martyr for truth and freedom. And that is exactly what he is. They thought they could silence a voice, but instead, they created an eternal echo. They thought they could bury a man, but instead, they planted a seed. The early Christians knew this. The blood of the martyr is the seed of the church. And today, the blood of Charlie Kirk will be the seed of our great America revival. Our enemies have shown their hand. The war is no longer a whisper. It is a gunshot ringing in our ears. We are standing on the edge of the abyss, and the ground is crumbling beneath our feet. And we have a choice to make right now. Do we stand up and fight? Do we fight like real men? Pick up the banner that Charlie held high as he charged the heart of the beast, and fight for our faith, for our families, for our future of our children? Or do we cower in silence? Do we let the beast devour everything we love? As it is written, the time has come for our country, for our children. Make your choice and fight with me to the end. God be with us.